Oh, hello, this is Tak Chung from Walk with Tak. Welcome to my YouTube channel. If you enjoyed this video, please like, subscribe, and share. Please feel free to write to me at walkwithtak@gmail.com if you have any question regarding to this video or any other videos that I've posted in the past. If you have any videos that you would like me to make, please let me know. I'm looking forward to hearing from you. Recently, a viewer wrote to me and he asked me how to create a dish that includes all the components that are necessary for the meal, all the proteins, vegetables, and the carbohydrates. This dish is an example which I would like to demonstrate. This dish has chicken, has 5 different kinds of vegetables, and also has noodles as the carbohydrate. Now the noodles that I'm going to cook in this dish is a chow mein. This kind of chow mein, which I often call it the pan-fried chow mein, because they are pan-fried first. The noodles has a crispy texture. Now in the past, when I cook a pan-fried chow mein like this, I normally use spaghetti pasta noodles. But for this particular dish, I use angel hair noodles. It provides a different culinary experience. However, it is the same template. The cooking approach is pretty much the same. The important thing about this dish is that you have to cook the noodles in advance, and then you store them in the refrigerator for up to 48 hours. Otherwise, the noodles will stick and burn to the bottom surface of the wok. You should never use the noodles right after it is being cooked. Now, the angel hair noodles is slightly different in the sense is that they are thinner. But as a whole, I don't think there's a whole lot of difference. I'm using my carbon steel wok to cook this dish. The first thing I do is that I season the wok, and I'm ready to cook. And then I put the noodles in the wok with about 2 tablespoons of cooking oil. I try not to use too much cooking oil, and most of the time I will use as little cooking oil as I possibly can. But then I have cooking oil in my squeeze bottle, so if I do need more, it's easy for me to add some more. We all know cooking oil increase our calorie consumption, so reducing it is a good idea. Heat management is particularly important in cooking a noodle dish like this. You do not want the heat to be too high, because otherwise the noodle is going to get burned. So the best thing to do is that to keep the heat to about medium or medium-low, again depending on the heat capacity of your stove. And then you just let the noodle to sit on the surface and let it fry. And then you turn it occasionally. And particularly toward the end, you want to turn it more often so that it will fry evenly. Now at this point, I add in some scallion. This scallion is the bottom section, and which has much greater onion flavor. And I use them particularly if I want to enhance the onion flavor of a dish. In this case, this will enhance the flavor of the noodles. Now the noodles has to be the way it is, or it can be seasoned as well. And in this case, I'm going to season it with my Walk with Tak basic seasoning mix. This seasoning mix is very mild. The intention is to enhance the umami flavor of the food ingredients. So instead of using salt, this is a good alternative that will give the noodles a savory flavor. Now, of course, you don't have to season the noodle at all, but in this way, I find that it makes the noodles more interesting. Okay, now the noodles is almost done, and I'm going to set it aside because I'm going to cook another dish to go over it. And having the noodle cooked separate has an advantage. So now I'm ready to cook the second part of this dish. This is a chicken vegetable stir-fry dish. Chicken is going to be the main protein ingredient, and I'm going to use 5 different kinds of vegetables to create a vegetable medley. This approach is quite efficient because now I can cook the noodles and the other part of the dish separately, so I can focus on one rather than try to figure out about both. I'm going to stir fry the vegetable first for about 15 to 20 seconds. And next, I'm going to put a little bit more oil. So now I'm going to cook the chicken. Now this chicken has been coated with cornstarch. And coating the cornstarch will protect the chicken against the heat. To coat the chicken with cornstarch, it will give the chicken a light breading. And this will give the chicken a crispy texture. And that's make the chicken more flavorful. Now, as you can see in here, the use of a pair of tongs has distinct advantage. Particularly, tongs will allow me to specifically turn the chicken. But if I have been using a wok spatula, it would be far more difficult. The method that I use is frequently referred to as shallow frying. Basically, I fry the chicken on one side and turn it over and to fry the other side. Since the chicken has been cut very thinly, it will allow me to cook it very quickly. And the use of the pair of tongs has great disadvantage because the tongs will allow me to manipulate individual pieces of chicken with much greater precision that will be possible with a wok spatula. Again, at this point, it is important to manage your heat properly. I have my burner set to medium, so this way I will not cause the food to burn. Now, this method is quite efficient because while I'm frying the chicken, I'm also cooking the vegetable and the carrots at the same time. And by putting them on the side of the wok, they stay away from the center part of the heat, so they tend to cook more slowly as compared to what happened to the chicken. Now here's one advantage of this method. Because I have cut the chicken in thin slices, they cook very quickly. And in this case, I add just a little bit more oil. As I mentioned earlier, I try to use as little cooking oil as possible. So when I notice that the bottom of the wok looks too dry, then I will add more oil. But with the squeeze bottle, I'm able to add precisely the amount of oil that I want. And now the chicken is probably over half done. I'm now ready to finish cooking the remaining of the food ingredients. First, I'm going to add some snow peas, and this is followed by adding some asparagus. This is then followed by some canned baby corn. Now, there's one advantage of advanced prepping. Because of advanced prepping, I have all these ingredients already in the refrigerator. If without advanced prepping, I probably need to prep them right before I start to cook. In this case, I probably would not use all these ingredients because they would take too much work to prep. And prepping has a great advantage, particularly when it comes to stir frying. When you prep everything in advance, you have many ingredients to choose from. So consequently, you can create complex dishes that would not be possible otherwise. And this is probably the most significant contribution advanced prepping will for your home cooking. And the next is that I'm going to add some portobello mushroom. Again, this is also present in my advanced prepping. The technique that I'm using is unique for stir frying because with stir frying, you can add different ingredients at different time point. And because everything is being cooked so quickly, you can time them accordingly. And I call this sequential stir frying. And this method has tremendous advantage because in stir frying, you are constantly pay attention to what you are cooking. So you know how long you want to cook certain ingredients. And with this approach, those ingredients that cook quickly, you can add it toward the end. So you don't have to worry about overcooking them. Whereas those ingredients that require long cooking time, such as the carrot and the broccoli, it was added early on during the stir-frying process. Now everything is pretty much to be ready soon. And next, I'm going to season the dish with a small amount of oyster sauce. The amount of oyster sauce that I add tend to be varied. In some dishes, I might add more, and in some dishes that I will add less. The reason is that you never know how all these ingredients is going to interact with the oyster sauce. Some ingredients will pick up the flavor much stronger as compared to other ingredients. Now I'm ready to create a light sauce. I'm going to use some water from my water bottle. I squeeze the water directly over the area if I notice there are any food ingredients or sauces that might have burned to the surface of the wok. And the water that sprayed directly on this area has a tremendous impact because it's almost like steaming those burn material right off the surface of the wok. This method is frequently known as deglazing. And I also call it spot cleaning because using this method, I can clean the wok as I cook. So by the time when I take the wok over to the sink, have to wash, it's much simpler and faster. After I did a taste testing, I decided I'm going to add a touch more oyster sauce. And this is the reason it is hard for me to tell the people who ask me the question, how much sauce did you add? Because I constantly making adjustment. And this is part of the strategy of flavor chasing. taste testing of what you're cooking during the cooking process is really important because it will allow you to make instant adjustment to create the flavor that you want. Okay, now the dish is done. Next, I'm going to transfer the food ingredients and place them directly over the chow mein. So I'm combining two dishes into one. This method frequently refers to as combinatorial stir-frying. Means that you stir-fry two separate dishes. In this case, the pan-fried noodles is one dish, the chicken and the vegetable medley is another dish. And you combine them together, and the reason using this approach is because both of this dish has distinct characteristics. First of all, the pan-fried noodles tend to be dry and crispy. Obviously, you do not want to cook them together with the vegetable and chicken dish, because in this case, the moisture in the chicken dish will cause the noodles to become soggy. But in this case, by combining them right at the end, you will have the best of both worlds. You still have some of the noodles underneath it to remain to be crispy, but then now they will be infused with the sauce and to create a really interesting and delightful culinary experience. And this is what makes stir-frying flexible, sophisticated, as well as interesting. Yes, you can see we really enjoy this dish. So with my fast cooking system, with flavor chasing, advanced peppering, stir-frying, and tempeh-based cooking, you will have almost unlimited possibility of what you can cook. Your imagination is going to be only restriction that you might have. Otherwise, with tempeh-based cooking, you can cook anything by making substitutions according to a basic template. If you'd like to learn more about my fast cooking system, please subscribe to this YouTube channel. So keep on cooking, and I will see you tomorrow.